Welcome to the Dan Sports Tips MLB Preview Show for today, the 17th of May. Lot of stakes yesterday. Very disappointed that the Cleveland offense, as they tend to do whenever I'm involved in a game with them, turns up and scores a load of runs to take away the Adam Duvall home run that we had with the Cincinnati win. A lot of points staked, small profit. Quite a few points staked again today, so I'm going to get straight into it. First game I'm going to look at is the Houston Astros visiting my Chicago White Sox. We do have a reasonable weather forecast for the hitters today, with the wind blowing out at the Cell. The Cell is a hitter's ballpark. Carlos Rodon will pitch for the White Sox. He has been struggling with his control. He has lost his last 3 starts with an ERA approaching 7. As the Astros showed at Boston over the weekend, their lineup is certainly capable of plating some runs. Dallas Keuchel, the reigning American League Cy Young Award winner, will oppose for Houston. He too has been struggling with an ERA approaching 8 in his last 5 starts. His ERA on the road this year is 7 overall. I do remain unconvinced about the White Sox against left-handed pitching, but the Houston bullpen is also performing very poorly at present, so even if the Sox do struggle with Keuchel, they should have chances to score runs in the later innings. With favourable conditions forecast, I do think the line for total runs at 8.5 looks low, so I will play the over on that. Todd Frazier is one of the few White Sox who's swinging a consistently good bat at the moment, so I will play him as well. I think 7-1 is a reasonable bet for him to hit a home run and the White Sox to win. Rodon shut down the Astros when he saw them last year, so just in case that happens and Frazier can go deep, then I think that's almost a little bit of a cover bet. Cincinnati and Cleveland, we're going to get involved in this game again today. On what we've seen from Alfredo Seaman the last couple of times, I just think the price is too big on Cincinnati to win this game. They continue to plate runs. We know I'm not convinced by the Cleveland offense, in spite of their outburst last night. Seaman has allowed 3 runs in each of his last 3 starts. The last 2 the last 2 starts he's gone at least 6 2/3 innings, which is a vast improvement on what he was showing us earlier in the year. Danny Salazar does get a lot of strikeouts for Cleveland. He does come into this game off his worst start of the year with 6 walks allowed. If Seaman can shut down the Tribe, which is far from an unreasonable thought, the Reds have been swinging it well enough that they can win this game, and they're close to 2-1 to do so on the money line. So we'll have a little play on Cincinnati to beat Cleveland tonight. Pittsburgh will host the Atlanta Braves again. Juan Nicasio has huge home road splits this year. He's a vastly superior pitcher at home, where he's been excellent. He understandably struggled last time with the Cubs. If we take that game out, he has struck out less than 7 on only 1 occasion this year, when he struck out 6. His ERA is 3.09 this year. He was below 2 before the Cubs game. That's half of his road ERA, which is well over 6. I'm fairly confident Pittsburgh will win this game, even though Aaron Blair has pitched fairly well in the main, though he didn't make it out of the 4th inning in his last start. The Braves aren't scoring enough runs, so I'm going to take on Paddy's performance line Nicasio to strike out 7 or more, which looks fair, and Pittsburgh to win the game at 11-4. The Boston Red Sox game that we were going to play last night, the same pitching matchup, Porcello and Ventura, is up again tonight in the rescheduled game. Porcello's been vastly improved on last year. We will only need to continue that against the reigning champs, who do rank last in the American League this season for runs scored. Ventura will need to be his absolute best to contain a Boston lineup that's scoring runs almost at will. He's been wild recently. He's allowed too many base runners in recent starts. I don't think the Royals can live with the Boston bats, and Boston should win this comfortably, so I'm going to play Boston on the run line, and I'm going to buy a couple of runs as well. Minnesota and Detroit was the game that kept our heads above water last night, really. We've got 2 lineups. They scored absolute boatloads of run yesterday. Detroit put up 8 in the first before Minnesota tied the game, and then Detroit went on to win it. I will say that Minnesota, some of their runs were, shall we say, a little bit lucky. There was the ball that hit second base and scooted off, avoiding both the infielders into right field. That scored a couple of runs, for example. The wind is forecast to be blowing out again at Comerica today. Decent conditions favouring the hitters. Mike Pelfrey is up for Detroit. Obviously, he was in Minnesota last year. He did actually pitch okay the last time out, allowing just 2 runs. He had allowed 5 in each of his 3 starts prior to that. It does take more than one half-decent outing to convince me, and one of those 5-run performances did come in a 4-inning outing against these Twins. He is also averaging a home run every 4 innings this year. Phil Hughes is in opposition for the Twins. He's allowed 15 runs in 11 innings in his last 3 starts with 5 home runs. He's allowing a home run every 5 innings or so this year, so the conditions look perfect for the hitters with the pitchers on show. The total runs is set at 9.5. 10 looks feasible to me, so I'll play the over in that. Just because Pelfrey was a little bit better last time, I'd probably shade in his direction. With Miguel Cabrera, who has had 5 home runs in the last 3 years off of Phil Hughes and has hit a home run in 2 of the last 3 games, I'm happy to take Miguel Cabrera to hit a home run and Detroit to win this game at what looks a fairly large 13-2. Then I'm just going to play a couple of multiples as well. The Red Sox game, obviously, I've already touched on. Clay Kershaw's up for the Dodgers against the Angels tonight. He's the best pitcher alive, let's be perfectly honest about it. The Angels' offense is far from elite when it comes to run production. The Dodgers are likely to have no issues scoring against Jared Weaver, who has got reduced velocity and strikeouts this year, which is not a good sign for him moving forward. He has allowed 4 runs in each of his last 3 starts. The Cubs, as we know, are an offensive juggernaut. They perform well at Miller Field, as many fans make the trip up the interstate from Chicago to the ballpark. It's not a long journey for them. Kyle Hendricks will pitch for the Cubs. He has decent numbers against Milwaukee. Chase Anderson did have his best start of the year against Miami the last time, but he has been struggling. He's got an 8.88 ERA his last 5 starts, and the Cubs in a hitter's park are not what a struggling pitcher needs to see. He's allowed 9 home runs in 35.1 innings this year. So I will play a treble on Boston -1.5, the Dodgers -1.5, and the Cubs -1.5. That pays 7.46 on Bet365, and a smaller treble on Boston -3.5, the Dodgers -3.5, and the Cubs -3.5, which pays a whopping 44.02 with Bet365. Those are the plays that I'm making today. Best of luck if you are having a play ball.